Hello again. I want to touch this morning upon rather a sensitive topic, which is that of white nationalism. It is sometimes assumed that white nationalism is really no more than a euphemism for white supremacism, but this isn't really the case at all. It is perfectly possible to wish to live in an ethnically homogeneous nation without asserting the superiority of your own ethnicity over those of other groups. Take the country Liberia, for example, which is determined to remain ethnically homogeneous and refuses to allow anybody who is not of black African ancestry to be a citizen of the country. The Liberians call this the Negro Clause, and it simply prevents anybody who is not black from acquiring citizenship in the country. I give a link in the description to this video of a piece about this. This, then, is black nationalism. What other types of ethnic nationalism are there in the world? The official name of Egypt is the Arab Republic of Egypt. Similarly, Syria's full name is the Syrian Arab Republic. These two countries define themselves in terms of ethnicity. Israel is, of course, a Jewish republic, another instance of an ethno-state. From all of which it will be seen that the concept of the ethno-state, that is to say a country which is run by and in the interest of one particular ethnic group, is flourishing in the modern world. We hear, without being alarmed or disturbed, about Arab nationalism or Jewish nationalism, even, as in the case of Liberia, of black nationalism. But mention white nationalism and lips are soon being pursed, and there will be sharp intakes of breath, as though the next step will involve burning crosses and segregation. Looking at the case of Liberia, there's no reason to suppose that the black nationalism there, the desire to maintain a black ethno-state, is motivated by any feeling that black people are superior to white. In other words, it is not black supremacism. It is simply that the culture and history of this African country is that of black people of African origin, and they wish to keep it that way. In the same way, when the Nigerian government recently announced that only Nigerians would be allowed to appear in advertisements, they too were simply acting to preserve their own distinct culture. They do not want to see white actors in commercials, but would rather have only their own ethnic group appearing in magazines and on television screens. Much of this kind of ethnic nationalism passes wholly without remark, and indeed few people are even aware of such things. However, let the phrase white nationalism be spoken, and it is as though some incantation has been pronounced which will summon up the devil. Let us try and insert the word white into the cases of ethno-nationalism about which I've been speaking. Imagine, if you will, a European country with the official name, say, the White Republic of Norway. Try and visualise a European country which refused citizenship to anybody who was not of white ancestry. What would be the reaction if the British government passed a law forbidding black people to appear in advertisements? These things all pass completely without anybody noticing outside Europe, but once one starts thinking of them in terms of white people, European origin, they suddenly appear very sinister. One does not need to believe that one's own ethnic group is superior to any other to wish for an ethno-state which contains only those of similar ethnicity to oneself. It is only necessary to feel more relaxed with and prefer the company of one's own group to wish to have one's own culture as the dominant one. It is this which distinguishes white supremacists from white nationalists. White supremacists are convinced that white people are superior in many ways to other ethnicities, superior intellectually, morally, culturally, and in other ways. For the white nationalist, though, this is largely irrelevant. He or she wishes only to live with other white people and to be in a country which is almost entirely white. This may or may not be a desirable state of affairs, I say nothing of that, but it is certainly a different thing from asserting the superiority of white people over other races. To give a personal example, I believe that Chinese people, and probably Gujarati Indians too, tend to have higher average IQs than white Europeans. I'm certainly not a white supremacist then. Ask me though if I would rather live in a street full of white people or one full of Gujaratis and Chinese. I might well plump for the one with white people. It is of course worth remarking that the Chinese person or Gujarati would probably make a similar choice and prefer to live in a street full of people of his own ethnic group, a phenomenon we often see in Britain, which has led to different ethnic groups clumping together in different districts, forming, one might almost say, their own mini ethno-states.